Welcome to Shadowed Tales Archive, a place where forgotten stories breathe again, where whispers crawl from the cracks of reality, and fear finds a voice. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and listen closely, because some tales were never meant to be told. Tonight's story is titled The Toymaker Below. Let the shadows speak.
Part 1. The Whispering Snow. Arctic Circle, present day. The wind didn't just howl, it screamed. It clawed at the tent's fabric, shook the steel frame of the snowmobile, and bit through Mason Briggs' 3 layers of thermal gear like it was tissue paper. He wiped a thin layer of ice from his goggles and squinted into the white void. They were still 30 miles from the last known outpost. Here there was no life. No birds, no plants, not even the bones of a predator dumb enough to try and survive. The Arctic this far north was more than frozen. It was empty. Except apparently it wasn't. There, Olivia Rourke said, pointing at the monitor. It's holding steady. 39 degrees. Just beneath us. Roughly 32 feet down. Mason looked at the thermal reading. It shouldn't have been possible. The permafrost here went down hundreds of feet. There were no lava vents, no geothermal activity, and yet there it was, warmth, faint but real. Mason didn't say a word. He just grabbed the drill. By midnight, the wind died. Dead quiet is worse than the howling, Mason thought. It was the kind of quiet that made your heartbeat sound like an alarm. The kind of quiet that made you wonder if you'd already gone deaf and hadn't noticed. Then, clang. The drill struck metal. They froze. Mason knelt, brushed away the powdered ice. His gloved hand touched cold iron. No, not just iron. A door. Old, rounded, embedded deep into the glacier. Carved symbols covered its face. Distorted spirals, crude rabbit-like heads, strange mirrored loops. Olivia whispered, "Why do I smell cinnamon?" He smelled it too, gingerbread, nutmeg, something sweet and warm. Like cookies baking on Christmas Eve. It was impossible. The door suddenly creaked, then opened. No key, no push, like it had been waiting. The staircase beyond led down, far down, spiraling deep into the earth. Each step was etched with runes. The walls were covered with mirrors, some clean, some cracked, some shattered into thousands of slivers. Mason's flashlight flickered every time they passed one. The deeper they went, the warmer it became. "We're 30 feet down already," Olivia said. "This shouldn't be possible. It's warm enough to breathe. My coat's overheating. Something's creating this heat." She didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the mirrors. They entered a narrow corridor. Toys lay scattered across the icy floor. Not ordinary toys, old ones. Victorian dolls with missing limbs. Toy soldiers melted at the edges. Marionettes tangled in their own strings, their painted faces worn into ghastly grins. A teddy bear sat in the corner. It had no stuffing. Its eyes were replaced with tiny shards of broken glass. "Jesus," Mason muttered. "These weren't thrown away," Olivia said. "They were left on purpose." They stepped deeper in. In the center of the next chamber was a pedestal, and on that pedestal sat a box, wrapped in yellowed paper, tied with a red ribbon, perfectly preserved despite the rot surrounding it. No tag, no dust. Just waiting. Olivia stepped closer. Mason tried to stop her. She touched it. The room groaned. From behind them, something fell. They turned around. No one was there. But they both heard it, soft, childlike, and so very close. Pepe. Far below, beyond the spiral of mirrors and buried candles, something moved. Not alive. Not dead. Somewhere in between. Flesh hung like wet cloth over bones too long in the cold. Fingers that looked like roots, twisted and cracked. reached toward the frozen ceiling. Its jaw opened, slow and creaking like old wood warping. The Toymaker had been asleep for a long time. Now he was awake. His lips curled into a rotten grin. "They opened the box," he rasped. "Let the gift be given." Part 2, The Forgotten Ones. 132 years ago, North Pole interior. Before the songs. Before the department store Santas. Before reindeer names were printed on mugs, there was a real workshop. Hidden beneath the oldest ice, inside a mountain that hadn't seen sun in 10,000 years, it thrived. Fueled by belief. Each year, the children of the world offered their excitement, their dreams, their joy, and the workshop received it. Magic moved through the walls like blood through veins. Toys came to life. Stories wrote themselves. Every laugh on Christmas morning was another spark to keep the place alive. The elves were not like cartoons or jingling caricatures. They were tall, graceful, with long fingers and eyes like frozen lakes. They were creators. They made toys that felt love, that shared secrets, that whispered bedtime lullabies in the dark. Among them was the most gifted, Maeglin. But Maeglin was different. He smiled less. He watched more. His toys were flawless but too perfect. They worked too well. His spinning tops never stopped spinning. His wind-up mice never wound down. And one day he stopped making toys for children. He made one for himself. It was a rabbit. A small thing made of brass and silver with twin red gems for eyes. Its body was latticed in crisscrossed wiring like veins frozen in gold. Its head tilted slightly, permanently curious. He named it Pemeluk, but he called it Pepe. He said it listened to him. He said it understood. Others thought it was a toy. It was not. Maeglin stopped attending communal meals. He worked in isolation, his room covered in mirrors. No one knew why, until the children started changing. The first was a boy in Norway. He stopped speaking anything but riddles. Then a girl in Ireland who refused to eat unless her reflection told her to. Then one in Brazil. He smiled too much. His mother found him staring at his closet every night, whispering to someone named Pepe. The maker, Santa in stories, summoned Maeglin. "What have you done?" the old man asked. Maeglin only smiled. "I gave them what they asked for." There was no trial, no forgiveness. He was stripped of his immortality. His magic drained drop by drop. His creations burned. And he was cast down into the hollow spiral far beneath the true workshop. A prison made of ice and old magic where no joy could reach. He laughed all the way down. But he kept Pepe. Present day, spiral depths. Mason and Olivia stood over the box. They'd unwrapped it. Inside, a mirror-locked base. A scroll. And the rabbit. Pepe. Its red eyes glimmered in the low light. The scroll read, "Congratulations, new friend. You have been chosen. Pepe is your best friend now. He will protect you. Do not look him in the eyes. He only likes to see you through the mirror. You may ask Pepe 3 things. In 3 days he will grant them all. But never forget, obey the 4th rule, or he will be upset." There was no 4th rule listed, only that warning. Mason's voice trembled. "This is a game." Olivia didn't speak. She was staring into the mirror, but her reflection wasn't copying her movements. Below, hollow spiral. Maeglin traced his finger across the runes. They were nearly complete. Pepe had returned to the world. The child had been chosen. A new gate would open soon. He needed only one more drop of magic. His finger bled softly as he pressed into the mirror, and somewhere above, Pepe smiled. Part 3, Mirror Rules. Interior base camp tent, Arctic Circle, nightfall. The wind outside had died, but the silence inside was louder. Olivia sat cross-legged under a canvas tarp, staring at the scroll they'd found in the yellowed box. Her gloves were off, fingers trembling slightly despite the electric heater humming beside her. Mason paced behind her, eyeing the open rabbit-shaped figurine perched neatly on its mirrored locket. "You've read that thing 5 times, he muttered. She didn't look up. "It changes." "What?" She handed him the parchment. The ink was old but not faded. Still red. "Pepe is your friend. Do not look him in the eyes. He only likes to see you through the mirror. Ask 3 things. They will be granted in 3 days. Never break the 4th rule." But this time at the bottom, a new line appeared written in a curling red scrawl. "You've already broken it." Mason dropped the scroll. "Olivia, did you see that before?" She nodded slowly. "I didn't write it," she said, "and it wasn't there earlier." He turned toward Pepe. The brass rabbit hadn't moved, but somehow it had. Its reflection in the locket wasn't aligned. The figurine was looking slightly left, but the mirror showed it staring straight ahead. Straight at Olivia. Mason swallowed. "Let's pack it up. We bring it back, give it to the university, or throw it in a volcano. I don't care. We're not staying here." Olivia didn't move. "Olivia?" She blinked. "What if it's real?" "What?" "The wishes." She turned to him slowly. "You've seen what's down there. What if this is older than anything we've ever found? What if this isn't a myth? What if it's something else?" Mason rubbed his eyes. "This is how horror stories start." Then Olivia smiled. A small, strange smile. "I just want one thing." Later that night, Mason couldn't sleep. The wind was gone, but a low hum vibrated through the floor of the tent, like machinery under the ice. He sat up and reached for his flashlight. Then he froze. The box was open. Not just the lid. The mirror locket had been split, hinges wide, with Pepe seated in perfect symmetry at the center. Its ruby eyes gleamed faintly, and Olivia was gone. He followed her footprints out into the snow. They led back toward the hatch, toward the spiral staircase they'd sworn not to return to until sunrise. "Olivia." No answer. He descended quickly, flashlight swinging. The air felt warmer. What? Down past the toys, down past the broken glass dolls. Then he saw her, standing in front of one of the cracked mirrors, not looking at it, looking away. "Don't look," she whispered as he approached. "Not into the glass. He's watching." Mason approached slowly. "You scared the hell out of me." She turned to face him, and he nearly stepped back. Her pupils were dilated. Not with fear, with focus. "Don't you see?" she whispered. "He grants wishes. I asked for something small. Just one thing." Mason stared. "What did you ask for?" "I asked for time." She reached into her coat and pulled out her left hand. It was smooth, young, unscarred. Her skin, which had been cracked from frostbite 3 days ago, was now perfect. Mason's jaw clenched. What did it take? Olivia looked back at the mirror. In the glass, her reflection smiled. But she didn't. They ran back up the spiral without another word. When they returned to the tent, the box was closed again. Except this time, something new sat inside it. A note. Read. 2 wishes left. Don't make me ask for you. Meanwhile, the hollow spiral below. Maeglin sat before a blackened mirror. Around him, the walls pulsated with old magic, humming like veins full of poison. He watched Olivia's reflection flicker across the surface. "She's open now," he said softly. The first offering was accepted. Behind him, the room was full of shadows. Not darkness. Shapes. Tall and spindly like stretched silhouettes. They moved only when unseen. "They will gather soon," Meglin whispered. When the second wish is made, the gate opens wider. He turned toward a rotted wooden door set in the far wall. On it, a glowing glyph pulsed faintly. A fourth rule. A rule too dangerous to write. One that must only be broken willingly. Back at base camp, morning. Olivia didn't remember sleeping, but she woke up in her cot. Her boots were dry. Her coat folded neatly. Mason was gone. She sat up, groggy, and looked around. Then she saw it. In the center of the tent, on the snow-packed floor, someone had drawn a mirror circle in salt. Inside it, Pepe sat quietly. His reflection didn't match the lighting. His red eyes now glowed even in full daylight. She stood staring at him. A low hum filled her ears, and in her mind she heard the voice. 2 left. Time is a gift. What else will you give? Olivia blinked. In the corner, her reflection in a piece of shattered glass didn't blink with her. That night, entry number 1 from Olivia's field journal, final. Mason's missing. The spiral is shifting. It's not just under us, it's inside us. I hear whispers when I try to sleep. I see my own face smiling back at me in the dark. I made 1 wish. I don't remember what I paid. I think the 4th rule isn't just about disobedience. I think it's about forgetting who you are. Part 4. Things that shouldn't move. Arctic Base Camp. Day 5 to 3:14 a.m. Mason awoke choking. His mouth was full of salt. He sat up, spitting, blinking away sleep. The taste burned his tongue. Around him, the tent was dark, except for the faint glow coming from a circle drawn across the snow-dusted floor. The mirror ring. Olivia had drawn it the night before with trembling hands and whispered breath. Salt, copper wire, and tiny bits of broken glass lined the edge. Pepe still sat in its center, unmoving, but his reflection had changed again. This time it smiled. They hadn't spoken much in the last 24 hours. Not since Olivia made the first wish. Mason had tried to convince her to leave. Pack up, fly out, burn the site behind them. She refused. He's not finished with me, she'd said, and maybe she was right. Maybe it wasn't just about her anymore, because things were changing. The mirrors they'd passed on the way down, the ones lining the tunnel, some of them had cracked open, split vertically like doors. Mason found footprints in the snow just beyond the entrance. Not boots, not human. And every time he blinked, he could swear the spiral beneath them was breathing. Field log, Mason Briggs, audio recording number 22. Day 5. Olivia's unstable. The rabbit hasn't moved, not physically, but something's happening. It's warmer in here, too warm for the Arctic. I swear I saw condensation on the inside of the tent window this morning. We're not alone down here. I keep hearing what sounds like toys being wound or maybe gears turning, but there's no machinery. At 2:17 a.m., I found Olivia sitting in front of a broken hand mirror. She was speaking, but not in English. She told me the mirror told her my name is wrong. She said I was never supposed to be here. Later that morning, Mason ventured outside to collect more fire gel. The cold bit his face like needles, but the wind was gone. Everything was still, too still. As he rounded the snowbank near the drill site, he stopped. Footprints, dozens of them, all leading away from the tunnel. Small, rabbit-shaped, but not hopping. They walked, upright. They circled the tent. They circled the snowmobile. They circled him. Mason slowly raised his flashlight and followed the tracks toward the nearest ridge. At the top, he saw a shape. It stood no taller than 3 feet. Its body looked like brass, but it shimmered like wet bone. Its head was tilted to one side, ears crooked, arms hanging at strange angles. It didn't move, but its reflection in the ice beneath it blinked. He ran back to the tent. Inside, Olivia was gone. Pepe was gone. The mirror circle was burned into the floor, charred, melted lines like someone had taken a branding iron to the snow. And on the cot lay a folded piece of parchment. One wish left. Don't waste it. Mason's flashback 3 years earlier. He remembered the mountain rescue in Alaska, the avalanche, the screams over the radio. He remembered Olivia pulling him out of the wreckage, blood frozen in his beard, legs shattered. They'd spent 36 hours under snow before help came. She never once stopped digging. She gave up 3 fingers to frostbite for him. And now she was disappearing in pieces. The spiral, lower levels. He went back, down into the tunnel. Down past the twisted toys and laughing Jack in the boxes. Down past the cracked mirrors, which now shimmered with movement that didn't belong. Every surface felt watched. As he descended, he saw more of them. Shapes, human-sized but warped. Dolls sewn from child clothing. Puppet bodies with mismatched heads. Broken rocking horses that moved without rocking. And always mirrors. He stepped into a vast chamber. At its center was a wall of mirrors, 10 feet high, arranged like a cathedral stained glass. In the center, a hole had been cut. A door. Standing in the doorway was Olivia, or something wearing her skin. She turned and her eyes gleamed silver. "Don't look at the mirrors," she said softly. "They don't lie, but they don't tell the truth either." "Olivia," he begged, "come back." "She's still here," the thing said, "but she's been rewritten. The second wish made me more durable." She held out her hands. They were perfect, smooth, too smooth, like porcelain. Mason stepped back. "I didn't make any wish," he whispered. "But you will," the thing said. "Everyone does." From the shadows behind her, Pepe emerged, larger now, no longer a toy but a presence. Its brass form shimmered with magic. Its eyes blazed red. Its ears curled like horns. Its limbs clicked and cracked as it walked upright. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Behind Pepe, a dozen shadowy shapes walked in step. Each one bore the hint of a child's silhouette, but wrong. Inverted, twisted, mirror children. Mason ran. He didn't remember how long. Maybe hours, maybe seconds. He burst from the tunnel into the snowy night, collapsed at the base camp entrance, breathing hard. The wind was gone. The sun hadn't risen. He looked at his reflection in the ice beside him. It was smiling. Final log, Mason Briggs, found transcribed from handwritten notes. This isn't about toys. It never was. It's about reflection. About rewriting. About control. Pepe isn't just a cursed object. He's a gateway. Each wish lets him in more. The mirrors aren't portals. They're copies. Each reflection is a blueprint for something he's building. Olivia isn't Olivia. I think I'm not me either. Not anymore. If you find this, don't make a wish. Whatever you want, it's not worth the price. Back inside the tunnel, Maeglin watched the final glyph flare. The gate was open, and Pepe was home. Part 5. Reflections Lie. Interior Base Camp Tent, Arctic Circle. Day 6 to 12:23 a.m. The mirror had lied. That was the only explanation Mason had left. He watched himself blink in the shard of ice beside his cot, and for just a heartbeat, the reflection blinked twice. He turned away, heart pounding. He hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every reflective surface in the camp was now moving just slightly off sync. It started with delays, half seconds. Then came facial changes, frowns that lingered, smiles that didn't match his own. He smashed the mirror in the tent. Didn't help. The fragments kept watching. He hadn't seen Olivia in almost a full day. The thing in her skin had disappeared into the spiral with Pepe and the mirror children. Mason tried to convince himself she was still in there, that if he could just reach her, he could pull her back. But deep down he knew, whatever had been left of her was now behind glass. Olivia's journal, entry number 2, recovered. He thinks I'm lost, that I've become something else. He's wrong. I didn't lose myself. I gave it away, piece by piece, to him. Because Pepe doesn't lie. The mirrors don't lie. People do. Time lies. Memories lie. But in the mirror, I'm perfect. Mason, descent number 3 into the spiral. The spiral was no longer still. It breathed now. He could hear the rhythmic groan of stone shifting, ice melting, gears turning, and always laughter, childlike but not. Ahead, light flickered through the mirrors lining the walls. He stopped at one jagged, spider-webbed, humming softly. Then he saw it. His reflection smiled at him and whispered, "She made the third wish." He stepped back. "No, that's not possible." The reflection repeated itself. "She made the third wish. You'll see soon." Then it vanished. In the chamber beyond, Olivia waited. But it wasn't her. Not anymore. Her face was smooth, unblemished. Her eyes were brilliant, twin slivers of silver mercury. Her voice sounded like Olivia's, but slower, softer, like it came from a tunnel too far away. "You came," she said, tilting her head. "Where's the rabbit?" Mason growled. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and stepped aside, and from the shadows behind her, Pepe emerged. He was no longer small. Now he stood almost Mason's height. His brass body pulsed with veins of red light. His joints moved silently now, like silk over bone. His eyes, once set gems, were now orbs of glowing consciousness, alive with swirling script. Behind him walked 6 children, or what had once been children. Each one was reflective, mirrored silhouettes that moved like marionettes underwater. Their bodies had no depth. Their faces were empty ovals of shifting color. Mason stared. "What are they?" Olivia, "No," the thing smiled. "Reflections." He turned to run, but the tunnel had closed behind him. No more exit. Only glass. He looked into the mirror nearest him, but it didn't show him anymore. It showed a room. A bedroom. A little girl sitting cross-legged on the floor, holding a brass rabbit. "Gabrielle," Mason whispered. Was a memory, or a window, or both. He watched as the girl turned Pepe toward a mirror and whispered, "I wish Mommy and Daddy would stop fighting." The image glitched, a static ripple across the glass. The next frame, the girl sitting in a different room, now alone. No parents, just silence. Then a note appeared in the image. "Wish granted." Mason turned to Olivia. "You've been giving it to children." She nodded. "We all wanted to be remembered." In another mirror, Mason saw himself. But the other him looked different, happier, stronger. No scars on his leg, no grief in his eyes. Then that reflection looked at him and mouthed, "Trade." He smashed it. The glass cracked, then bled. A thick black ichor spilled from the wound. It hissed, evaporating as it hit the ice. Olivia winced. "You shouldn't do that." He pointed at her. "You made 3 wishes. What was the last?" She looked down. "My reflection." "What?" "I asked to become the version of me I see in the mirror. The one I dreamed of." She looked up and smiled sadly. He made it real. But he had to store the old me somewhere. She reached toward the largest mirror on the far wall. There, the real Olivia pounded silently, eyes wide, mouth open in a scream no one could hear. Maeglin appeared in the shadows, whispering, 3 wishes, 3 mirrors, 3 doors. He smiled. Would you like one? Mason lunged at him, but the old elf faded into smoke. Pepe stepped forward instead, and said in a voice that echoed in Mason's mind, "Make a wish." Mason hesitated. He could ask for Olivia back. He could undo it all. But then he looked again at the reflection inside the mirror. Olivia, screaming, bleeding from her palms where she'd scratched the glass trying to escape. No, wishes cost too much. Instead, he raised his crowbar and slammed it down on Pepe's face. Crack. The mirror behind Olivia shattered, and she collapsed. The glow in her eyes faded. The mirrored children screamed in unison, their bodies fracturing like broken water. Pepe stumbled backward, sparks spraying from his head. A rift opened in his chest, gears flying loose, light flickering. Mason shouted, "Now!" He grabbed Olivia, real Olivia, by the arms and pulled her through the shattered portal. Behind them, the spiral began to collapse. The sound was like glass rain. Above ground, sunrise. They emerged half dead. The sun had returned. The snowstorm was gone. The hatch was gone, buried beneath 10 feet of new ice. Mason sat beside Olivia as she slept, her breathing ragged but real. He looked at the last object in his pack, a single shard of mirror. Inside it, Pepe's eyes still glowed, watching, waiting. Part 6. The Old Man Returns. Northwestern Svalbard, 1 week later. Mason hadn't spoken since the rescue. A passing research ship found him and Olivia on a drifting ice sheet, both dehydrated, frostbitten, and clinging to a bundle of mirror shards wrapped in thermal cloth. He told the crew nothing. No one asked much. You don't question people found where they shouldn't have survived. Olivia's condition was unstable. Her vitals were fine, but sometimes she stopped blinking for too long. Sometimes her reflection in hospital windows would lag just for a moment. Other times, she stared at the mirror shard Mason kept in the bedside drawer and whispered, "He's still in there." Mason nodded. He knew. 3 days later, the mirror shard cracked. No one touched it, but across its surface, words began to carve themselves in frost. "He is not your enemy. You destroyed a vessel, not the hand that made it." Then, a symbol, ancient, circular, interwoven like a snowflake made of chains. Mason recognized it. It had been burned into the hatch they'd uncovered, stamped on Pepe's chest. And deep in his memory, it was also etched into a wooden ornament from his childhood tree. That night he dreamed. He stood in a toy workshop, grand, impossibly large. Wooden soldiers marched in endless loops. Snow fell from nowhere. Bells chimed above, though there were no visible strings. At the center, a man stood, tall, broad, white beard that shimmered like silver snow. But this wasn't the Coca-Cola Santa. His coat was made of woven pine branches and frozen mistletoe. His boots left frost wherever they stepped. His eyes held no twinkle, only age. Endless, weary age. "You finally saw it," the man said. Mason's voice caught in his throat. "Who are you?" "They used to call me many things. Saint, Spirit, Father of Frost. But in this place, I am simply the Maker." The room shifted. Mason saw visions swirling in the air, reflections without glass, children laughing, toys being unwrapped. But then the change, a crack in one mirror, a reflection that moved on its own, a rabbit, brass and ruby, being passed from child to child. The laughter faded, replaced by whispers, cries, silence. "He was my son once," the Maker said. "Maeglin." The old man nodded. "Not by blood, by bond. He was my brightest, the most gifted artisan we had. He could carve joy into gears, paint wonder onto wood, but he was hollow inside. He wanted not to give joy, but to be loved for giving it. Mason whispered, "That's not the same?" "Not when the gift becomes a leash." The maker walked past a mirror. His reflection remained facing forward even after he turned. Maeglin discovered something: the nature of reflection. That each joy, each desire cast a shadow, and where shadows gather, something waits. Mason's stomach tightened. Pepe, not a toy, not even a curse, a reflection of Maeglin himself. His longing, hatred, and magic coalesced, made manifest in a vessel. I locked him away. I sealed the mirrors, but desire is stronger than walls. Someone always opens the box. Mason stepped closer. "Why tell me this now?" The maker looked at him deeply. "Because the vessel has broken, but the reflection remains, and you've been touched by it." Mason's hand instinctively went to his chest. It burned. "You hold a fragment. It's marked you." "Then take it out," Mason said. "Fix it." The old man shook his head slowly. "It doesn't work like that." Behind them, mirrors began to ripple. Each showed a different child, each holding a version of Pepe. In one mirror, the rabbit's head was rounder. In another, it had horns. In another, its body was made of black felt stitched with silver thread. The maker pointed at them. "He's spreading. Different faces, different names, same hunger. He feeds on granted wishes, but now he doesn't wait to be asked." Mason turned toward the center of the room. A door had formed, carved from frosted wood wrapped in chains. "What's that?" he asked. The maker sighed. "The first mirror, the original reflection, the place where Maeglin's magic took root." Mason stepped toward it. "I want to end this." The maker didn't stop him, but he said one final thing. "Be warned. What you face inside won't be Maeglin or Pepe. It will be you." Olivia's hospital room, present. She sat up gasping, her eyes wide. "Mason," she whispered. "He's going back in." She looked toward the mirror on the wall. For the first time in days, it was blank. Somewhere beneath the ice, a different mirror spiral. Mason stepped through the frozen door. He emerged into a world of reflections, an endless landscape of glass towers and frozen rivers, skies that shimmered like mercury, and everywhere, versions of himself walking, speaking, laughing, screaming. He looked down. He cast no reflection. A voice spoke from above. "Welcome to the origin. Let's see what you trade to be free." Part 7, Pepe's Gift. The origin mirror, inside the reflection. There was no sky, no ground, only glass. Endless planes of it, angled, fractured, suspended in space. Reflections flickered across every surface like memories trapped in amber. Mason as a child, Mason bleeding on a frozen mountain, Mason screaming, Mason smiling with teeth that weren't his. Each version stared back with intent. None blinked. Mason stood on a narrow walkway of mirror shards, balancing above a bottomless void of shifting images. He could see himself from every direction, every moment, every mistake. A voice echoed around him. "What would you trade?" He turned. No one there. The voice came from everywhere. From the glass, from his own mouth, from the broken rabbit cradled in his arms. Pepe, still fractured, still smoldering from when Mason shattered him, but somehow still alive. He whispered again. "What would you give to be rid of yourself?" In the distance, something approached. A figure walking with calm, confident steps, reflected in every surface at once as though the mirrors were following him. He wore a long crimson coat stitched with silver thread. His hands were hidden in black gloves. His face, Mason froze. It was his own face, but younger, sharper, clear of scars, clean of grief. "Who are you?" Mason asked. The figure stopped a few feet away. "You," it said, smiling. "What you could have been." Mason stepped back, heart racing. "No, you're not real." The figure tilted its head. "I'm not a lie. I'm the version of you that accepted the first gift." "What gift?" Pepe's body pulsed faintly in Mason's hands. "To forget pain, to forget guilt, to reflect only what pleases." The reflection stepped closer. "In your world you're broken. Out here you can be whole. You just have to let go." Mason looked down. The mirror under his feet began to crack. Each step backward sent fractures rippling across the void. Around him, dozens of versions of himself whispered, "Accept it. You deserve peace. No more blood. No more Olivia." He squeezed the shattered rabbit in his arms. Pepe hissed just faintly. Then a single thought echoed through his skull. "You could be him. All you have to do is say yes." Meanwhile, hospital room, real world. Olivia screamed awake. The mirror in the far wall shattered outward, glass flying across the room. Medical staff ran in. Her vitals were spiking. She shouted, "He's inside." Mason's reflection, "He's not coming back." Then she saw it. One of the mirror shards on the floor held a reflection of the spiral, and standing in it, Mason's doppelganger smiling back. Back in the origin. The reflection stepped forward, no longer smiling. "You're wasting the gift," it snarled. "You could live 1,000 lives. All of them better than the one you've crawled through." Mason dropped Pepe's body onto the glass floor. It didn't shatter. Instead, it began to move, limping, dragging one leg, rising to its feet. The rabbit, half machine, half entity, now burned with a sick violet glow from within, its eyes fixed on the reflection. And for the first time, Pepe spoke aloud, in Mason's voice, but darker. "You are not him. You are the mask." The reflection snarled, "I am the gift." But Pepe lunged. The mirrors exploded in a halo of silver light. Mason fell backward into the void. Real world, Olivia's vision. As Mason vanished, Pepe's image passed through every shard of broken mirror in the hospital, and then appeared beside her. No one else saw him, but she did. He knelt beside her bed, brass limbs clicking. A single word slipped from his metal mouth. "Ready." The hollow spiral, now reconstructed. The gate reopened, but this time it wasn't Maeglin who stepped through. It was someone new. A woman. She wore Olivia's face, but older, sharper. Eyes that had seen into mirrors and stepped through willingly. In her hands, Pepe now whole. Behind her walked dozens of children, their reflections stitched to their backs like shadows. She smiled, and in Maeglin's ancient voice she whispered, "The next Toymaker is chosen." Mason's final trial, within the last mirror. He awoke in a cold chamber. Not glass this time, stone. He was inside the original workshop, abandoned, darkened. The air was thick with soot and dust. Broken toys littered the shelves. Gears rusted in place. At the center stood a table. On it, a wooden box, his name carved into it. He stepped forward, opened it. Inside, a single mirror. And in that mirror, Olivia. Not the twisted one, the real one. She looked afraid. Behind her, the new Toymaker stepped closer, whispering in her ear, "You'll forget him soon." Mason shouted, "No!" He punched the mirror. It didn't break. He screamed, clawed at it. Then Pepe appeared at his side, glowing, whole, smiling. "Would you trade places?" Mason looked at him, breathless. "What?" "I take you. You stay in here. She forgets you, but she lives. She is free. Mason stared at the mirror, at Olivia's eyes, then nodded. Pepe placed a brass paw on his chest and whispered the final phrase. A gift given is a gift kept. Real world, day 10. Olivia discharged. She walked out of the hospital alone. Her memories were fuzzy, blurry, but she felt okay, somehow lighter. She returned home, packed away her research, tossed the mirror shards in the fire. That night she sat by the window, and for a moment she thought she saw Mason in the glass, smiling, and then gone. Elsewhere, a new box is wrapped. In a dim room lit by candlelight, the new Toymaker wraps a package in faded gold paper, ties it with red string. On the tag, scrawled in careful script, "To the one who wants more." Inside, Pepe, waiting. Part 8, The Last Rule. 3 months later, Vermont, USA. The box arrived on the doorstep of a suburban home just after dusk. There was no delivery man, no return address, just brown paper, faded gold ribbon, a small tag handwritten in perfect cursive, "To Ellie, the girl who watches." Inside, nestled in soft black velvet, sat a brass rabbit, ruby eyes gleaming, a silver mirror locket beneath him. A scroll lay beside it, neatly rolled. "Pepe loves you. He will be your very best friend. He only asks for one thing." But this scroll was different from the others. At the bottom, in crimson ink, it said, "The fourth rule. Never forget who you were, because Pepe will remember who you should have been." Meanwhile, somewhere in the frozen north, the hollow spiral had been buried, the original workshop sealed in ice. But things like reflections don't die in darkness. They spread, they wait, and in the depths of a mirror once shattered and now whole, Mason watched. He didn't breathe, didn't blink, but he remembered every moment, every choice. He remembered Olivia's eyes the moment she saw him inside the mirror, before he traded places. He remembered Pepe's voice whispering, "A gift given is a gift kept." And now he watched the gifts being passed on. Olivia, now. She lived quietly now. No more research trips. No more frostbitten outposts. The Arctic was behind her. But at night, when the house was still, she'd sometimes see movement in the corners of mirrors. Sometimes her reflection smiled when she didn't. Sometimes her reflection looked sad. She never told anyone, until the letter came. It arrived in her mailbox, a folded envelope, no stamp. Inside was a photo, a little girl holding Pepe in her lap. Her name, Ellie, written on the back. Below it, just one line. "Do you remember the rule you broke?" Flashback, the original fourth rule. Before the fall, before the spiral, before Maeglin carved his name into fate, there had been a fourth rule, known only to the Maker and the eldest elves. A rule whispered, not written. Never give a gift you wouldn't want to keep. Maeglin had broken that rule. He gave away too much of himself, into Pepe. And when no one wanted him back, he kept giving. Every child who made a wish fed the reflection. Every mirror became a door, until the doors forgot they were ever closed. Now, Olivia's decision. She booked a one-way ticket to Vermont. The girl in the photo, Ellie, was only 8. No parents listed on the hospital record. Her foster file was sealed. But Olivia found her in a small house near the woods. One mirror in every room, even in the basement. She knocked. The door opened before her hand touched it, and Ellie stood there, holding Pepe. He looked different again, longer ears, polished brass limbs. His eyes glowed faintly violet now, not red. Ellie looked up. "He told me you were coming." Olivia swallowed. "Did he?" She nodded. "He says you're the old friend, the one who left someone behind." They sat on the porch. Ellie let Olivia hold Pepe. He was warm, alive. His eyes blinked slowly. He didn't speak aloud. He didn't need to. Olivia heard the whisper in her bones. One wish left, old friend. You made 3. He made 1. But what about the last? Inside Ellie's bedroom that night, a mirror stood by her bed, a tall one, and the kind that remembered every face that ever passed before it. Olivia stared into it. Behind her, Ellie slept peacefully, but in the mirror, Mason stared back. He was still inside, still trapped, still remembering. He mouthed one word, "Please." Olivia reached into her coat, pulled out the old scroll, the original burned one, the one she never threw away. At the bottom, where once was only a cryptic warning, something had been rewritten. The 4th rule, clear as blood. If you love Pepe, you must do what he asks. She stepped toward the mirror. Pepe's reflection was already waiting inside it. He nodded. She raised her hand to the glass, and it rippled. On the other side, Mason raised his own, their fingertips aligned. But Pepe spoke before the exchange. You may take him back, but someone must stay. Ellie stirred in her sleep. Olivia turned around, then looked back at the mirror, and smiled. Mason, the real world, 1 moment later. He gasped awake on the floor. Cold air, wood under his hands, real breath in his lungs. He looked up. Olivia was gone, but Pepe sat on the windowsill watching. In the mirror, blank. Inside the spiral, Olivia's final vision. She stood alone now, in the same chamber Mason had once seen, the gift room, but it had changed. The walls shimmered with hundreds of reflections, not just Mason's, not just hers, children, adults, all frozen mid-wish. She saw Ellie's image flicker, then vanish. Safe, free. Olivia smiled, and behind her the Maker stepped forward. He bowed his head. You knew the last rule, and you followed it. She turned to him, eyes gleaming not with magic, but with peace. A gift given is a gift kept. Final scene, somewhere, sometime soon. A child unwraps a box. Inside, Pepe. But this time the scroll is blank. No rules, just a mirror. And in it, no reflection at all. Only a voice. Not Pepe's, not Maglin's, a woman's. Tell me what you want.
And that was tonight's tale from the Shadowed Tales archive. If it left a mark on your mind, if the silence feels heavier now, then the story did what it was meant to do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the darkness. New stories are always on their way. Until then, keep the lights low and the doors locked.